So today we're going to be checking out a very popular and very well-known fragrance clone. And this has actually been around for a good while, kind of back before clones were nearly as popular and trendy as they are now. And don't get me wrong, they've been around for a while, of course. Cloning is nothing new, but this was back in 2006 when this was released. It's pretty cool to know that's been around for a while, has some lineage, if you do say so myself. It's Unforgivable by Sean John. Typically going to run you around $40 per 100 milliliter, which is a pretty good price. Kind of places it right there on the tipping point of being a cheapie and getting close to being into that mid-range designer pricing. And of course, most of you already know this, but it is a clone of Millesime Imperial by Creed. Now, the Creed came out in 1995, so this one has also been around for a good while. And this DNA is so timeless, so classic. I mean, this is something that will never age. It will never start to smell dated or old or anything like that. I mean, this stuff is going to work for years and years and years. It's also unisex, which is pretty cool. Appeals to a wide audience, a wide variety of people. And it's just, it's a really good DNA. Of course, one of the main drawbacks with the Creed is going to be the price point. The prices on Creeds kind of seem to drop down on the gray market side a little bit these past couple years. At least I've noticed, depending on where you shop. I believe you can get Millesime Imperial, the new 100 milliliter style bottle, for like, what is it? $230, $240, somewhere around in there if you're looking in the right places, which is still expensive, but it's nowhere near the close to $500 retail MSRP price tag, especially when you factor in tax and stuff out the door cost if you go to a boutique. Nowhere near that price, but still expensive, and not everyone wants to spend $200+ on a scent. So that's where the appeal of the Sean John comes in. There's a good amount of Millesime Imperial clones out there, but I want to give this one some love today because I haven't really talked about it. We're going to go into this one, tell you how it smells, how it performs, when you can wear it, and if I think it's worth picking up. So let's start off with how this fragrance smells. Now, when you first spray this one on, you get hit with that kind of melon, fruity opening right off the rip. And it's something where if you've smelled Millesime Imperial before, and then you smell this one, you'll immediately know where this is going. Like, I've said this before, but I like to reiterate it when I can if I have new people. But if you have a fragrance clone where when you spray it for the first time you have to sit and think about what it smells like, then it's not going to be that close of a clone. And that's not always a bad thing, right? Sometimes it's nice to have something that's similar but also has its differences. But if you're looking for as close to an exact match as you can get, it's never going to be 100%, but as close as you can. If you have to think about it for a little bit, especially if you're familiar with the scent that it is trying to clone, then it's not that close. I mean, this one, you know right away. I have Millesime Imperial. I've had a few different batches over the years, have a couple other clones as well. And so I'm familiar with the DNA, and it took me no time to understand what this one smelled like. And of course, when you're looking up something like this online, you're going to know that going into it anyway, but still, it's very obvious off the rip. Just very orangey up top. Orangey with a little bit of a brighter tart citrus. So the orange is kind of providing a sweetness, and then something like bergamot lemon is giving it a little bit more of a sour approach. You also get a good amount of lavender and clary sage coming through pretty quickly off that opening, which is just making it very aromatic. So it's citrusy, fruity, it's aromatic, it's fresh, has a little bit of a watery type of feel, similar to what Millesime Imperial would have. It's just kind of an oceanic, bright, uplifting, and kind of vacation-oriented scent. We'll take a look at the full note breakdown here. They give us a good amount to go off of. So we've got tangerine, green mandarin, grapefruit, lemon, bergamot, birch leaf, basil, and juniper up top. So definitely is a top note heavy fragrance for sure. In the mid, only got 3, lavender, clary sage, and iris. So pretty simplistic, and that's where that aromatic mid comes from. And the iris, it's used even in something like green Irish tweed, which is pretty cool from Creed. So the brand of Creed does dabble with that in their fragrances. And so when they were perfuming this one, Sean John, I guess, kind of snuck that in there just to give it a little bit of a slightly powdery floral component, adding a bit more of a sweetness and making it more unisex. And the base, we have rum, cashmere wood, sandalwood, tonka bean, and amber. So a nice healthy note breakdown, a lot going on. And while the fragrance itself doesn't really come across like it has tons and tons and tons of depth and complexity, it still is cool to see that. Because this is one where it kind of shows its, I guess, price point a little bit here in terms of its dimensions. Now, you know, when it comes down to it, I'll say if a niche brand is worth its price or not, if I think it is or it isn't. And Creed is one of those brands where I've been very open and I've said retail price is a strong pass, a strong no-go for me. Really is. And I've kind of gotten to the point where even discounted prices, depending on the scent, I would be like, I'm not too sure. Ventus is one that I will pretty much always support, even though it's been reformulated. I've got new bottles. I buy a new bottle every year, and it's still a strong performer, and it's still a Ventus for me. You know, I've also got so many other clones, so it's like if I want an older smell, I could go to something different. But you guys get the point. Millesime Imperial is one where I kind of say, even at discounters, maybe don't get it. But what I will say is that it does really show up with the quality. Millesime Imperial does have more richness, more depth, more dimension. It smells more three-dimensional, whereas when you get into some more affordable options like this one here, has a little bit more of a flat smell. That being said, when you consider the prices, this is a no-brainer for me. Because let's be real, I would say most people, even who are watching this video and is looking for a clone or an alternative for a good price, isn't really going to care about that level of complexity. And I could say for 100% that the people around you that's going to be complimenting your scent are not going to even think twice about any sort of complexities or quality. They literally are not going to care. So it really doesn't matter that much, but it is something I like to point out for any purists out there who, for whatever reason, are looking for a clone. Now, interestingly enough, in the dry down, you do get a slight bit of a sweetness, which I would only imagine is coming from the rum. Now, this doesn't turn into a boozy scent by any means, but you get hints of it. Same with the sandalwood. Sandalwood's a nice note because it's more of a softer and creamy woodiness. When you get into different varieties of cedarwood, you get into notes that smell a little bit dry, a little bit spicy, a little bit rugged, rough. When you take a look at a lot of popular, masculine, spicy men's fragrances, a lot of them are going to have a heavy dose of cedarwood. Think of something like Gucci Pour Homme, just the original. Bentley from An Absolute, which is a clone of that one. Heavy doses of cedarwood, giving it that dry, masculine, kind of rough and tumble smell. But with the sandalwood here, it's much more smoothed out and creamy and approachable. And it's much more appropriate in a fragrance like this, which kind of has a Mediterranean vacation on a yacht type of smell. I'm a big fan of the Millesime Imperial DNA. Really like it a lot. And so, of course, I knew going into this one initially I was, going to like it. Now, there is Armaf's Milestone. And I would say overall Milestone is going to be closer to Millesime Imperial than Unforgivable. Okay, so if you're looking for, closeness and that's it, Armaf might be the way to go. Where I come into really start liking Unforgivable is when I do want, a little bit of a variation, especially towards the dry down. Now, again, like we talked about, when you spray it, when you smell it, you don't even have to think about the fact that it is Millesime Imperial. But what I do like is in that dry down, you get up some more of the aromatics, a little bit of that slight rum, some of the sandalwood coming through. So it kind of goes in its own little direction there, but it also still does stay on track with, a Millesime Imperial smell. This one also seems to be overall a little bit lighter. When you take a look at like Armaf Milestone, some people don't like that one. Some people say it has like I think I've seen comments where they say it smells like a grandma. I've seen a lot of people say where Milestone was a big fail for them. Like they bought it, blindly, of course, and they didn't like it. And I can kind of see in some instances why, because it does have kind of a strong floral, kind of a strong muskiness in a different way. It's still very close to Millesime Imperial, and that one also isn't going to be for everybody, especially if you're not into something that could be unisex. But this one is overall lighter, and I really do think that Unforgivable is the more mass appealing of the two. So again, closeness-wise, probably still Milestone is going to take the cake, but in terms of more mass-pleasing, more light, and all around just more designer-oriented, I would take the Sean John. So there are options here for you, depending on what you want. If you're just after compliments, go for this one. If you're after just as close as you could possibly get for around the same price, but it also might be a little bit of a perhaps miss for some people, maybe a little bit of a challenge, then Milestone would be for you. Now, performance on this one has never been really its strong suit. Same with Millesime Imperial for that matter. 6 hours for me on my skin longevity wise, and it's a softer 6 hours, so throughout the entirety of the scent it's going to be closer to the skin. Heat does help, so do recommend getting this one out in the heat. It could be 100 degrees and you could still rock this one. That's also another advantage with this over Milestone, is Milestone may start to break down a little bit more in the heat because of the added kind of richness and depth that even that one has, but this one's so much more light that it likes the heat. It really does it good for performance. It does it good for opening up and kind of developing. Smells fantastic in the heat. Highly recommended. So all things considered, for the price, about $40 for a 100 ml bottle like this. Nice sleek bottle and presentation, by the way. Press fit cap, but the bottle does feel nice. It looks really nice and just sleek and classy. I like it. I think it is worth a pickup. Again, reference back to what I just said about Milestone versus this. You just got to make that decision for yourself. But I'm glad that I have this one. I really do reach for something like this more than my actual bottle of Millesime Imperial because it just works, and it's lighter and it's way less expensive. I don't want to have to buy another bottle of the Creed, so I just don't wear it that much. But this one here, I can get my fix without actually wearing the Creed. I will provide a link to this one down below. That's gonna do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.